Hello everyone, I'm Jean-Philippe Baconnet from Zenica. I'm so happy to see you connected to this live event. This is our third open source event for the Hacktoberfest 2023. We used to organize event in French. I think you can understand it with my beautiful accent. Don't worry, I'm not the speaker for this session. And before to let our guests present their great talk, let me introduce in few words. Zenica, we are an IT services and software engineering. We love organizing events, being speaker, providing training for our customers, and contributing to the open source world. Everywhere we try to organize some events to help people to discover open source and to contribute on beautiful projects. And now I'm so happy to welcome Pauline Narvas from Gitpod. Hello, Pauline, how are you?
Hi, I am good, thank you. It's so nice to see so many people already in the chat. I'm really looking forward to this session. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you again for your time and for accepting to join us for this event for Oktoberfest. I will share your screen and you can start when you want. We have approximately 30 minutes, more or less, as you want. And after we can take time to answer to your questions. So you can use the chat to let your question, comments, or anything else. Pauline, it's let's go.
Amazing. Thank you again, JP. Thank you, Zeneca, and the whole Hacktoberfest open source community for inviting me to do this event. I'm excited to speak today about communities and building a high gravity one. I will be talking mostly about the Gitpod journey. I'll also talk about what Gitpod is in a second, and kind of like the learnings we've figured out over the last 2 years and where we're going next. I'll also drop some like hints and tips that we've learned to help you build your own community in your organizations or in your open source projects. So let's get started. So for those who don't know me, hi, I'm Pauline Narvas, and I head up the community at Gitpod. If you've ever interacted with our community at all, you've most likely already spoken to me. So outside of the tech world, I'm actually a digital nomad, exploring mostly Europe and America right now. And over the past year, I've been to 11 countries. But right now, I'm in Greece and definitely have spent the most time here. If you have any questions about that, I'm more than happy to chat. You can also find me on Twitter. I've put my handle on here, or LinkedIn. So as the talk is going, feel free to share like tweets and learnings of this talk. I'd love to make this talk as interactive as possible. We also have the session for questions at the end. So yes, hi, thank you for welcoming me here. So I would love to hear in the chat if any of you have heard of Gitpod before or worked with any kind of cloud development environment. So as I go through this slide, I would just love to hear if you have. So let's all put ourselves in the shoes of a developer, which I'm sure you have all have been in at some point as you're in this session. So imagine your usual setup. You select your projects, and you're super excited with starting coding, starting building your project idea. So you select any project. And then the logical next steps are to check your dependencies, check out your branch, view your README text, install tools, run builds, run tests, and then finally you can start coding. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of friction that happens here because there's just a lot of steps. And as open source contributors as well, you will know this all too well, where you find a really cool open source project that you really want to contribute to, but they have a long README file that has multiple steps on how to get your dev environment set up. And this can be frustrating, and the value to contributors gets lower over the more times that they try to debug their dev environments. And yeah, oh, it's nice to see so many people who have already said that they've heard of Gitpod. Awesome. So you probably know where I'm going with this. So this is where cloud development environments, or CDEs, come in. So for those who don't know, cloud development environments are on demand and pre-configured with all the tools, libraries, and dependencies required to be ready to code. And here's a fun fact for you, actually. We're not the only ones at Gitpod diving into the world of cloud development environments. Many companies are slowly joining this exciting journey. And in fact, we hosted a conference earlier this year in San Francisco named CDE Universe. You can also go on cdeuniverse.com if you want to check it out, where we had a lot of these forward-thinking companies who showcase their approaches to their own CDE solution and just interest in this ecosystem and in the space. I think this is a real testament to the growing popularity and potential of this technology, which is super exciting to be like a part of. So what I'll talk through now is just the 4 principles that we coined at Gitpod, and this might just help you get into the mindset of how this could be super helpful as open source contributors or just like developers in your own engineering organizations. So our first principle is CDEs are on demand, which means they're instantly available and infinite. So you can open up a Gitpod workspace, which is your cloud development environment, and you can do that with just a click of a button, anywhere, anytime. You can also start multiple dev environments for multiple contexts because of a configuration file that we have. The second principle we have is equitable. This is all about making software engineering, software development more accessible to everyone. And actually, I see someone in the comments who said that they're a student and that they use Gitpod every day for mini projects. And we're trying to also like lower the barrier to entry. So let me just share a real life example with you from someone in our team. So we have a community member in our team who actually joined us after he was super active in the community. His name is Axon. So if anyone has been part of the community, you have seen his name like floating around, I'm sure. So before joining Gitpod, he was actually learning how to code, and then he faced a significant hurdle when I think his Chromebook broke down, and so he couldn't code. But that did not stop him at all. He managed to set up a workstation with a keyboard and a mouse, all connected to a TV, and he just used Gitpod as his compute power to continue learning how to code. There's actually a really awesome blog post that he wrote just sharing that journey, which I will share at the end of this talk. So that is our second principle. Our third principle is consistency. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, in the world of Gitpod, every cloud development environment can be tailored to meet your specific needs. You can think of this as infrastructure as code, and it's a shift from treating like infrastructure like pets, which are unique and require individual care, to treating them like cattle, which means that each unit is identical. This approach provides like scalability and repeatability. And the biggest win of all of that I just described is no configuration drift, and every setup is consistent. So your whole coding experience is smoother and more efficient. As open source contributors, you can imagine how golden this is, so you don't have to fight with your dev environments anymore. And last but not least is extensibility. And this just means that every CDE is not only modular, but also powerful enough to handle any use case that you throw at it. And yeah, so let's go back to the start of this talk where I talked about how you had all of these steps to finally get into the creative flow of coding and just building your product, building your project. And now with Gitpod and cloud development environments, you just select a project and then you suddenly just start coding, and that is magical. So I hope that gave you a good insight of what Gitpod is, what we're trying to achieve in the cloud development environment ecosystem. And now I wanted us to just zoom out and talk about community, which is what I'm sure you're all here for. So like, as I'm talking about community, I would also love to hear in the comments what you think community is and what it means to you. I would love to hear all of your different perspectives and thoughts, because it definitely means a lot of different it means different things to different people, but I think we can all collectively come together to have this like shared description of what you think it is. So from the description on Google, when you type in what is community, actually the first thing that comes up is that show, that Netflix show called Community, which is apparently really good. I have not seen it yet. But another thing that comes up on Google is community is a group of people who have similar interests or who want to achieve something together. And I specifically highlighted like similar interests and then achieving something together, because I feel like community spirit is all about coming together because of this one thing you all like, and then working together to collaborate, build on top of that thing that interests you, and yeah, really building those bonds together. So my history with communities, just as we're on this slide, is before I got my role at Gitpod, I had always contributed to different communities. They were all tech communities, or tech in a sense. So in every single one of these communities, I always left a better person, because I found a group of people, I found like a tribe of people who accepted that, you know, I am interested in XYZ topic and they were too, and we just lifted each other up to make the most out of the collective information that we had, the collective resources that we had, and things like that. And then since then, I have, in every job I've ever had outside of including this one at Gitpod, I have always had community at the heart of all of my roles, because I genuinely believe that is where the magic is, and I hope I can demonstrate that to you in this talk as I talk about community at Gitpod. So what is the value of community? And this is actually a really important question. I think it's more important than ever now, because of the recent things that have happened, for example, in the pandemic, where community is actually the thing, personally for me, that kept me going. And every time people ask me, like, what do you do for your job, or why do you care so much about community, I always come back to the value, and I hope that I get to demonstrate that with you today. So when I think about what the value of community is, I look back at the fact that whenever I join any community there is, I always look at who is in the community. And it's those people who I have access to learn from, to share my experiences with, to potentially build and collaborate on stuff together. That is why I go and join a community. That is why I like staying in a community, because I also feel like these people feel like a home, feel like it's a place I can go to, I can be myself, I can learn, I will be seen and accepted. And I genuinely believe that this is what community value is. And in the terms of like startups and products and projects that you might be part of, your community influences everything. You have the influence of your product decisions, the roadmaps, the brands, everything, the voice of your brand, the voice of who your users are. Your community is the thing that helps elevate your brand and how other people know you. And so if your community is a good and positive one, you have a great friendly environment where everyone feels like they can be themselves and share openly, that includes like critical feedback or any projects that they're working on where they need some support. All of that contributes to a lot of the I guess, like from a startup perspective, your product, your brand, everything. So yeah, communities are valuable. So let's chat about the Gitpod community. And this is very special to me, obviously, as I head up the community at Gitpod. But I will also just share that when I joined Gitpod, I joined as a community engineer. And back then, this was in 2021, we didn't have a community. We had users, we had people who were talking about us, but we were kind of distributed everywhere, and we didn't have a strategy or a plan to bring them together and elevate people's voices, especially our like super fans who really believed in the product from the early days. And so when I came in, my job was to bring our community together and think of structures and like initiatives to really bring our community as close as we can be to Gitpod. So this is a graph of our members, in the member growth in our community. As you can see, it goes to 2017, and I think that was just the first, maybe when the Gitpod repo was first created, but you can see it was quite low. This is a tool called Orbit, which I'll go through in a second. But what you can see here is our community growth increased a lot from like the 2020 all the way up to 2023, and now we've got around 40,000 people who contribute in many different ways. And these activities in our community isn't just Discord, which again I'll go into a second, but Discord is the structure that I set up to have a central place where our community hang out. But as you can see, this is the current state of our community, and I'm excited to continue like building it. So as I shared, the humble beginnings, our community was kind of just all over the place. We didn't have a central place. And so I asked myself, when I was looking at our community from a high level, where do our community hang out? Where are they now? And up until this point, everyone was in GitHub issues, randomly on Twitter, randomly on YouTube comments, on LinkedIn, all over the place. But there was no central place we could all just collectively geek out about how cool Gitpod was, or how cool that we are moving to cloud development environments to reduce this painful part of the development workflow. And so when I looked at this and I was like, where are our community like coming together? And there was actually an old community Discord server that was started by a community member, and I don't recall who it was because it was just before I joined, but they created one just out of their own like pocket because they wanted to bring people together to talk about Gitpod as a product. And then eventually we created our own official Gitpod Discord, and then everyone like came over. So whenever people ask me, when you talk about community building, where do you begin? I always ask that question: where are your community? And go there. Go where they're already talking. Go where there's already people, like I described in the story, hanging out, creating something out of nothing. Go there. So as I said, for us, the central place became Discord. We also used to have a forum, but we felt like it was it got outdated very quickly, and it just caused a lot of friction and confusion from like new members. So we decided to use Discord, which has created more like forum like features in the recent months, but it's just a lot better because it has like real-time information that is a little bit more updated. But yeah, even though we had Discord as our central community platform, we still had people coming from other areas, other platforms. But when we talked about like, oh, if you want to get more involved, come to Discord, they always eventually find their way into Discord. So it's really important to figure out where your community is and go there. So as I said, we have our community Discord server here, and the whole design. So when people ask me, okay, so when it comes to community building, all I need is a Discord server, another Slack community. That's it. No. So actually, even though I spoke mostly just about platforms now, I genuinely believe that communities doesn't equal a platform. Just because you have a Discord server does not mean you have a community. Community is a lot more than that, which again, I will share. That's something we started to figure out as the journey goes on. But yeah, still our community experience, we wanted it to be one of the best. And so we really intentionally designed our Discord community to have a logical flow that will have new members introduce themselves to talk about where they're working, why they're interested in being part of the community, and several different channels where we can showcase work that they have been doing, building on top of Gitpod, or feedback they have. And this Discord community isn't just for this Gitpod users, but also our Gitpodders. So people who work at Gitpod, to get closer to community and hear the chatter that's going on there, to get some product insights. So we really intentionally built and designed the Discord a very specific way. We're actually due for another refresh of our Discord server, and that's currently one of the projects that is coming up soon. But yeah, it's become a good place where we ask our community to hang out. And yeah, if you want to learn more about like how we've designed the community and all of that, we also created a blog post, which I will share. So yeah, let's talk about the year in community. So I wanted to split this talk in a year of community, 2 years in community, and some lessons and tools that you can also take for yourself. So a year of community, these are the things that we built and shipped and created that kept our community close to the company. So as I said, we really intentionally designed the Discord server, and Discord is one of those platforms that can be quite confusing, but once you get the gist of it and understand how you can make the most out of it based on your community feedback, or what kind of things your users are coming into the community for, you can really like gamify it and automate it to be the best community experience you can. I feel like this could be a whole separate talk in itself, so I'll quickly go over it. This is actually Axon's project. He built a bot called Optimus that empowers the Gitpod Discord server. And so if you have ever interacted at all in our Gitpod Discord server, you'll see that there's multiple bots there, but one of them is the questions bot, which is run by Optimus. I believe this is created on Rust. So basically, when a new community member joins the Discord server, they go in, ask a question in the questions channel, and Optimus comes in and gives you a list of suggestions to help you self-serve, in case you really needed something right there and then. But also we have some community engineers that are also happy to help. So here, this is the bot I was talking about. So these are the four things that Optimus, our bot, does. So it gives you a reminder to check the docs, our YouTube channel, and status in case it's related to your talk, to your question. It gets the links from Discord, from GitHub issues, just so that if anyone asks a similar question to you in the past, you can also read that. Also a reminder just to share as much details as possible. And then we recently shipped this docs, Gitpod Docs AI, which when you ask it, it gives you an answer. And this is really cool automation because, as you can imagine, we get quite a few questions about how to build X on Gitpod, about certain projects that are very specific. So we wanted to automate it as much as possible. At the same time, as I said, we have a team of community engineers that love answering these questions and empowering our users as well. So it's not just all run by bots, although it is very efficient. So yeah, that was the Discord server. As I said, I feel like I can talk about that for like hours. I could talk about every configuration, every decision we made in Discord. We really intentionally designed it. But I feel like that's a talk for another day. So another initiative that we launched was community office hours. And when we first launched this in 2021, we actually just ran them on our Discord server in our office hours channel, and it was super casual. We didn't record any of it. It was mostly just people coming together to talk about what they built on Gitpod. We also had opportunities to talk directly to our product team, the people who are building Gitpod, to ask questions, to influence like roadmap decisions and things like that. And sometimes we just jumped into this office hours to play games and just to come together as a group of people who are interested in cloud development environments, interested in improving developer experience. And we all just came together to learn, to talk, to connect. And that is what community is all about. It doesn't matter which platform you're in, but our office hours definitely gave a space, even though it was virtual, to bring people together. Eventually, at the end of 2021, we decided it would also be helpful to record these sessions to showcase the cool things that people are building. So we actually have a YouTube channel playlist with all of our previous community office hours. We also have a repo on our Gitpod.io/community repo that has all of the notes about every single office hours that we ever had, and you can learn more about like what our community have been building. So hopefully that is helpful. And I think out of all of the things that we shipped, Community Heroes, our ambassador program, is the thing that is super close to my heart, because I actually met JP, who introduced me earlier, through this. Like, he applied and we accepted him. But every single face that you see here, we also have a few more that we haven't added onto the page yet. These folks honestly make the Gitpod community. When anyone asks me who is in your Gitpod community, I show them these faces, because these are the folks that are powering our community, who continue to give us energy and like life into what we're building. And honestly, for me personally, these are the people that make me excited to continue working in this space, because they are the most passionate people who like have built incredible things on top of Gitpod and shown me what's possible with Gitpod. So yeah, thank you to these folks. So yeah, our Community Heroes program, you can also apply if you're interested. So it's gitpod.io/community/heroes. And what you get here is you get to be part of a smaller sub-community, I would say, an exclusive group where you are closer to me. We will work very closely together. I will support you in any way I can to bring you closer to the product, to the team, to help support you in whatever project that you're building. And you also get some really cool swag that are very exclusive and only to our Gitpodders. So yeah, like the Heroes program is something I'm very happy that we shipped. And again, it's one of the things that we are working on improving over the next few months. So that's exciting. I also just wanted to share and highlight, whilst I'm on stage, some of the incredible work that our heroes have done. So one of them had hosted this workshop, and every single computer you see on there is running Gitpod. That is amazing. It's awesome that the Gitpod and the whole team are talking about like, this is the future of cloud development environments. But when you see it in person like this, it's a whole like different feeling. It's so incredible to see. So yeah, really huge shout out there. Also, we do like community appreciation of our community heroes. Will, I could talk about Will again, a whole talk about Will, but he is an incredible ambassador for Gitpod, and he has helped our community like get up and running with Gitpod, especially in the early days when he just wanted to improve like contributors' experience and just advocate overall for better developer experience. And he has worked so hard on that. So yeah, huge shout out to him. Also, you also have JP here, familiar face, where he supported us in so many different ways, with events, with live streams. We also recently did a open source video, which you can check out on our YouTube channel, where he talked about the power of using Gitpod for open source and how it improves your whole contributor experience. So there's that as well. Also, we have Deralu, who is like actually one of our top community hero contributors right now. He helps so much in our community Discord server to help new users get up to speed with Gitpod, and he also creates a lot of cool projects on Gitpod, which I encourage you all to check out. And obviously, how can I like not include this picture in this talk about community building? So this was in Valencia of 2022. Gitpod went to their first in-person KubeCon. We had the booth there, and it was so much fun. I got to meet 3 of our French community heroes here. You might recognize them from the masks here. If the masks aren't like covering their face too much. And it was an amazing I think it was the first time I felt like a true connection with our community, because I was like, oh my gosh, all these people I've been talking to online had come up to our booth to learn more about Gitpod, to see us, to advocate there. So it was really a really special moment for me. And yeah, everything I just shared there in the first year of building the Gitpod community, we actually wrote a community blog post in the Gitpod blog. Again, I will share this link later, where I shared what we learned from growing the community from around 500 to 5K in just 1 year. So let's move on to 2 years of community. So I'll just talk about the initiatives that we launched. One of them is Gitpod Samples. And Gitpod Samples is a collection of Gitpod tutorials, templates, integrations contributed by the Gitpod community. And this has become a place where we host all of our templates, and people have constantly contributed to this repo, to this organization with repos that they want to maintain to help empower other users in the Gitpod community to get up to speed with XYZ technology or stack that they're using. You can also use the space to, if you want to ship something like that you've built on top of Gitpod and you want the community to see it, this is also a good place to share it. So yeah, that was something that we shipped, and it's still something that we definitely want to make more use of more. And then, okay, this is where I am so excited. I got really excited just like seeing this slide. But this year, one of the biggest things I wanted to drive was meeting our community in person. Because as I said, up until this point, most of our interactions with our community and the community building efforts that we had were online and virtual. I enjoyed meeting so many people online, and it's definitely faster to meet all these people in our community, but it's a different level when you see them and meet them in person. When you're in a room with other people who love Gitpod, who believe in cloud development environments or care about developer experience, and they're all in this space, it's just the most exciting and probably one of the, like I said, one of the best things that we shipped in the past like 2 years at Gitpod in the community world. So we have actually we brought all of these people together. I could also share the hosting guidelines in case anyone is interested. So we actually have 3 different types of community meetups. The first one is completely community-led. So they're community organized by our members, and we at Gitpod support them as much as we can through like financial stuff or venues or communications. The second way is Gitpod organized. So this is something that we do. We organize it, and usually we organize it with a partner. So right now, the next 2 meetups we have coming up actually is with Amazon, with AWS. So that's super exciting. And then the third type of meetup that we do is actually sponsoring another meetup that's currently happening in our local city. And it usually helps when there's a lot of Gitpod users in that city. So we can definitely we can also support that. That's also all in our hosting guidelines. So I also wanted to share this community quote from this incredible newsletter called Community Inc. I will also share this link. I recently subscribed, and Gareth, who writes this newsletter, goes into these deep dives of community building and successful community building in different companies. So this is one from the founder of HashiCorp. when he was talking about bringing the community in person together, he said, let's just get these people in the same room so they can feel that energy and take back and spread it. And this quote is exactly what I wanted to do with our community this year. And like I said, we did exactly that, actually. So it's October now. We have hosted 9 meetups in 9 cities in 6 countries and brought together in person 292 people. And these numbers, it looks quite small, I guess, when you compare it to the 40,000 people who are within our whole Gitpod community online. But this is like a huge achievement. And, you know, I've attended as many of these meetups as I can and hosted some of them myself. And it's just a different level when people are looking at you, talking to you about Gitpod, how excited they are. And it's just such a pleasure to see. So that is one that we another initiative that we really doubled down on this year. Another one is just empowering our community members to continue building on top of Gitpod. The one I really needed to showcase is this Raycast extension. So I don't know how many of you use Raycast. Feel free to share in the comments. But 2 of our community heroes, Palani and Hennet, just loves Raycast, and they also love Gitpod. So they were like, how can we merge the 2 together? What can we do to build on top of Gitpod? They had access to speaking to our Gitpodders internally, so they got feedback from our product teams on how they could build it, and now they have shipped that like a month ago. And it just is built on top of Gitpod. You can essentially open up a Gitpod workspace directly from Raycast. A huge achievement here. This was also featured as the top 3 extensions in the Raycast extension store. I encourage you all to check it out, but that was completely community-led, and I would love to see more of this moving forward. So that is essentially what you just saw there was 2 years at Gitpod, summarized very quickly at a high level. But I also wanted to touch on the helpful tools that we've had that really help support us in this, like the 2 years of community building. So the first one is Orbit. So the graph that you saw of the community growth was from Orbit. And what Orbit does is it's essentially a place where you can see all of your community activities across the board. And this is super helpful to help identify the community members who love contributing to Gitpod. And so it's my role to make sure that they are recognized and they are seen by us, because I know how excited they are about the product, and I just want them to be seen from our platforms, recognized internally as well, and to give back to the community and their efforts. Orbit is a fantastic tool for that. We also, one of the main questions we get about community is, where do you get your cool swag from? And we actually use this vendor local hero box, where if anyone has ever received a fan box from me, you get this cool Gitpod fan box full of Gitpod swag. And yeah, this is the company that we use. We also use Zapier a lot for automation internally, mostly. So in our Slack, on a Slack workspace, we have a few channels with all of these alerts. So whenever someone in the community creates like a blog post or a YouTube video or post something on Reddit, mentions on Twitter, it is all posted internally in our channels. And this helps a lot just to make sure that we have visibility. We also can use Orbit for this, but Orbit is more of like I like to see it as a big database. And yeah, so this is really helpful to have visibility on Slack. And I cannot talk about community building now without talking about Guild. So we use Guild as an alternative to Meetup and Eventbrite. Taz, who has created a Guild, essentially has this concept of community and community events. So we have a guild. This is what you're seeing right now on the screen. This is the guild. And each of these, this is a network. And inside the network, the Gitpod network, you have multiple guilds. And we organized it based on location. So we have Gitpod London, Gitpod Munich, Gitpod like Amsterdam, and all of these places. Most of these are actually created by our community members. So it's part of the hosting a community meetup guidelines that I talked about. So we create a guild and then they can start inviting people into that guild. And as you can see, we have 522 members of people who just wants to create like a community meetup somewhere in their city. And we're also trialing more online events as well to enable people who don't necessarily want to meet up in person, but want to have like a smaller space to talk about Gitpod and cloud development environments. So yeah, highly recommend checking Guild out. So what's next? Oh my gosh, I have been speaking for a long time. I just checked the time. So what's next? In our community, as I said, we really want to continue hosting these Gitpod community meetups. We get a lot of them. I personally feel like the community has been closer than ever because of these meetups. And so I want to have more of these organic meetups popping up. And I definitely want to see it more in the States as well, because we've mostly been very focused in Europe. So yes, we will see. I also wanted, so one of the things that we have been working on recently, in case you missed it, we have launched a partnership with the Linux Foundation where we are giving our Gitpod for open source program absolutely free to every single Linux Foundation projects, and that includes CNCF projects as well. So if you are here and you're like, hey, I'm a Linux Foundation project, or I'm part of a CNCF project, get in touch. You can apply through gitpod.io/discover/open source. And what you get when you apply to this is 2,500 credits, which is around 250 hours of Gitpod workspace usage, absolutely for free. And when you create an org and invite your other contributors, they also get that much. So everyone has more of a taste of cloud development environments, and also can improve your whole developer experience with open source contributions. And yeah, so I'm really excited to continue doubling down on those efforts and getting closer to the open source community. So I wanted to end this very long talk with what I said earlier. So what is the value of community? The value of community is derived from the people that are in it. And I believe that at Gitpod, we are definitely in the right direction there. We are full of people who bring cloud development environments to life, who bring that vision and the excitement that we need to really push this CDEs into like the wider tech industry. And I'm super excited to be a part of it and be surrounded by these people. So yeah, if you haven't tried out Gitpod yet, you can do it right now. So you can open up a GitHub repo or GitLab or Bitbucket repo and just prefix your URL with gitpod.io/hash, and you can see it all for yourself. The magic will just work. And also, I would love to get closer to everyone who has tuned in today to hear me talk about community. Come and join us. We're at gitpod.io/community. I'd love to work closer with you and bring our communities together. But yes, thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me today. And yeah, I'm happy to take any questions. We should have some time.
Yes, thanks, Pauline, for this talk. I don't see any question in the chat, but as you say, we have minutes. We have time to answer to your questions, so don't hesitate.
Nice.
I see in the chat some people already know Gitpod, use Gitpod for projects.
I mean, they must have seen your tweets.
On the Discord. The next event in France is in Nantes.
Yes. I should have mentioned, just in case anyone's curious, we have I think actually 4 community meetups coming up. 2 of them are actually organized by us and AWS. One of them will be in Munich on the 30th of October, so at the end of this month, and then the 1st of November in London, again with the AWS offices. And you'll expect to see me at both of them. So in case you're around, please say hello. We also have 2 other community ones, one in the UK in Birmingham, and then one in France that you're hosting, JP. So I can also share the links to those in case you want to hang out. And oh yeah, there's a few questions here. Shall I go ahead? Okay, so Sarah, hello Sarah. Okay. We can start with this question. Any idea? Oh, it's okay. Any idea on future integration of GitHub Copilot in Gitpod? So I believe you can actually do this already, but it's kind of a more manual process. If you ask actually in our community, it will pop up as one of the automations. But there's nothing planned in the product team right now to specifically make this work out of the box, but you can do it yourself. I can answer Sarah's question. How much maintenance? Yeah, how much maintenance is keeping up with things like Guild that are not directly within your control, like Discord, when you see and can react to everything right there. Actually, I'm very close to Taz, who runs Guild, and we are talking a lot about integrations and how what are the most important integrations right now. And for me, actually, I requested Discord, and I really want some kind of integration to keep like Guild and Discord closer together so the whole community can see everything that's going on. But it is like, I wouldn't say it's high maintenance because I'm always on Guild. It's one of the first things I check. And when I log into work, I check like Discord, Guild, Twitter, LinkedIn, and just to check up what everyone is doing. So I wouldn't say it's high maintenance, but I definitely feel like integrations with these community platforms will help close that loop a bit and make it a bit tighter. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. And then the other question is, do you create codes of conduct for them? Have you had any incidents to worry about, for example, the reputation of Gitpod? Yes, we do have a code of conduct, which I can also share. It's in our Gitpod repo, and I occasionally have had to share it in our repo just because in our Discord, just because of certain community members coming up and being rude or attacking other people. And it definitely is something that I've had to deal with a few times, but luckily every single time we learn from the experience to make sure it doesn't happen. But it is super important to have a very clear code of conduct that you also believe in and follow. A huge part of good community experience, and I feel like a huge part of why the Gitpod community is like successful and is something that a lot of other companies and communities come up to us and say like, oh, you've built an awesome community. I think one of the reasons is that we have that strict code of conduct and we stick by it, we live by it. And I feel like you can really feel those the positive vibes, the friendly vibes when you come to our Discord server in particular. And we also have it in our meetups and things. So yeah, again, I answered your question. Any move to integrate other code AI assistants? Yes, so we can actually, we did a collaboration recently with SourceGraph, and they have a coding assistant called Cody. And you can actually integrate that already on Gitpod. Right now, it doesn't come out of the box from like as far as I know. You have to do it yourself using the usual way of installing VS Code extensions. AWS Whisperer, I'm not 100% sure if you can actually do that on Gitpod yet, but if it's on OpenVSX, which is our open source extensions marketplace, then you should be able to install it on Gitpod. But yeah, happy to look into that a bit more. I love how there's so many questions about AI. Expected. Why? Oh, very good question. Why the change from your original job title? I actually got a promotion, Sarah. So, so yeah, when I first joined, I was the only community person. I was a community engineer, and I worked on, like I said, everything that we shipped in the first year at Gitpod community. And then it felt like a natural change because I moved away slowly from answering day-to-day questions from the community about like, how do I do this on Gitpod? How can I integrate this on Gitpod? Blah blah blah. I stepped away from that and focused more on strategy and the higher level, I guess, of what community could look like at Gitpod. And so I needed support. We hired Axon, who you've seen, and you might have also seen Ghost on our Discord server. And those two are the two community engineers in my team. And yeah, I now head up that community. Yes. I wondered if the vibe shift away from engineering. No, I honestly love the title of engineering, but I also felt like it made more sense to have more of that high level head of community role. I also dipped into a little bit more closer to like marketing, which again ties close into like events and things like that. So I kind of see, even though my role is like head of community, I feel like I also do a bit of DevRel, a bit of marketing, start of life, I guess. There's another question here. Are community part of the products, like better testers? Yes, we actually have these beta testers. And it really depends when. So I think our community heroes are the first people we speak to whenever something new is coming out and we want to test that. And yeah, so they are the first and foremost with in terms of like beta testing, and that also includes like announcements. They are always the first ones to hear. But yeah, like as I said, we are improving our community processes and really reviewing the whole community strategy this year. So if you have any ideas on that, or you want to get more involved with like product beta testers, let us know. But yeah, one of my goals is also to get closer to product. Yes, awesome. And Sarah, you said how large your team is. Yes, my team, you know what, can I just say? My team is, like I said, Axon and Ghost. So it's 3 of us in community. But I also honestly feel like the community is part of my team as well. Like everyone I speak to and the community heroes, I feel like we're all part of the same team. And I honestly feel like you all keep the vibes in community, which is really important. And another question here. Hello, thanks for this very interesting talk. What are the criteria to become a community hero? Fantastic question. Actually, let me just open up the page so I can read it out to you because I want to make sure I get everything right here. So I just wanted to mention, when you apply to be a community hero, I will read the application that comes through. I read all of them and I approve them like manually. Yes, thank you for sharing the link. So you just need to make sure that you're above 18 years old and have a good Gitpod account standing. So that just means like you've not done anything bad on Gitpod, because you know sometimes we get bots and minors and things like that. So just to make sure that you have a good standing with us and be committed to Gitpod's like code of conduct and values in the whole diversity and inclusion space. Again, that is highlighted in our code of conduct, so I can share that with you if you have any more questions. And also just be eager to Gitpodify like your repos, things that you're working on, and just to tell the world about Gitpod. So it's that enthusiasm, you know. Also, you enjoy creating some type of content. This can include like blogs, videos, going to do public speaking workshops and conferences, and also helping the Gitpod community. So honestly, when I go through these applications, and we get a few, I just look for also potential in me collaborating closer with you, because like I said, it's a huge part of my job. I love getting as close as I can to the community heroes, which is why JP and I always hang out. So amazing. I think we've got a few more minutes, so can we take this question, JP? Is that okay? Yes. So how do you balance some of these things, manual and personal, while also using things like bots and AI to scale? Oh, I think this is a really good question. Again, this could be a talk topic, but I think from our side, when we started doing introducing the bots, you know, the AIs and the automation, which is something Axon is particularly good at, I loved it because we were getting so many questions, like on Discord, but we also have another platform that's called Front, where we take a lot of questions via email that includes community questions. So it's always a lot going on behind the scenes. Not all of it goes through Discord. So using bots and AI helps a lot, has helped a lot with workload. But at the same time, I actually shared this as feedback. Like when we started automating everything, I was like, okay, this is great. I'm seeing it all do itself. But at the same time, I was like, one of my biggest like enjoyments of being part of the community was the one-to-one conversations I was having with people and jumping on calls and just checking in how people were doing and what they wanted to do in our community. And so yeah, it's like, it is a balance. And I think like this is something I remind our team a lot. I'm like, it's awesome that we are automating things, making things efficient, but also when we have these conversations like in person, the magic of like connecting with someone one-on-one is definitely something I will always value. So it is a tough balance is the question there. Okay, and the last question, sorry, JP is giving me the all hands now to go. So students can apply, you just have to make sure you're over 18. And that's it.
Yes, it's time to end the live. I think you agree with this. If you have any question, you can ping you on Twitter. On X.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Come and just share your thoughts or questions that you might have on Twitter. I'm always on there. Or come to our Discord server. I'm more than happy to chat about anything I talked about today. And happy to just bring our communities together.
Do you have the link of the Discord server?
Yeah, it's actually gitpod.io/chat. So you can come and chat to us on there. Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
That is the one. Yes.
Thank you again, Pauline, for this talk. It was very interesting. Thank you for coming. And the replay will be available soon. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.